I'm Allison McBain, and I'm the author behind Author vs. AI. If you'd like to learn more, please follow along at my website, authorversusai.com. In this video, I'm sharing tips and tricks about how I'm writing a book a week and how you can do it too. The topic this week is part 2 of creating a chapter-by-chapter outline for your book. There's a lot of info for this one, so I'm splitting it up into several parts. Last time I talked about why you should create a chapter-by-chapter outline. Today I'm going to talk about how. First off, the summary you created of your book will be very helpful to use as the building blocks in creating an outline. As a reminder, the story summary is writing a paragraph or two about the major aspects of the book, the main character or characters, the world building, the character's desire, and the conflict. I usually estimate about 30 chapters for a book, which will be about 1,500 to 3,500 words per chapter, depending on genre. I have a template file that has the chapters all laid out from 1 to 30, which is very helpful to use when starting a new project. The first step is to take my story summary, which might be 10 to 15 sentences, and space it out throughout the chapters in my outline. So the first sentence of the summary might be the basis for building chapters 1 through 5, the second sentence might be the basis of building chapters 6 through 10, and so on. It might not be exact, and there will be much more that you'll have to flesh out for the story, but this will give you the beats of the plot, which are major plot points that you'll want to hit as you write. Next, I take a look at the usual tropes and conventions for the genre or genres I'm writing. As an example, YA novels tend to have best friends, family, and one or more romantic interests. Science fiction, for example, will have some science or technology that's essential to the story, and usually a feeling of discovery or sometimes apocalypse as a background. Fantasy will often have magic, etc. One tip that can be helpful to stay organized and avoid doing the work twice: at the same time I'm building my chapter-by-chapter outline, I'll probably be working on my character sketches too. The two of them tend to go hand in hand. As I develop my plot and add more characters to my outline, I find it helpful to have a second document that's just about the characters. I'll talk about that more in a later video. Now that you've set out the beats of the novel by spacing out your summary, that's when you have to fill in the details. So you want to introduce the main character on page 1, chapter 1. In this chapter, you might also introduce the antagonist or ally of the character, for example, the best friend, love interest, or the mortal enemy. Some of these can be introduced later, such as chapter 2 or 3, but often you want to introduce many of the main characters within the first few chapters. Two other things to think about when building your outline: side plots and story arcs. While your overall book will have a story arc, you also want each chapter to read more or less like an individual story. It should have conflict and action, as well as some quieter moments and character building. Tension and conflict drive the story forward, both in smaller sections such as chapters, as well as in the book in general. Next week, I'll get into the specifics of creating your outline and walk you through this process using one of my own Author vs. AI book outlines as an example. Any comments or questions? Throw them into the chat. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until then, happy writing.